Right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You will be welcomed properly by Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers. But as opening remarks, this is, I'm not sure whether it's the first peer review for the year. If it is the first, then we're continuing on this journey that we commenced a few years ago of peer review meetings where students engage and also receive guidance, especially from supervisors and sometimes even invited guests. Now, according to the program, can I just get assurance that we will stick to the program as it is, and we will finish at 3 o'clock? Is that okay with you? Anyone who is going to leave before 3? Okay.
Because I have an overseas trip this evening.
This evening, okay.
Yes.
Is 3 o'clock okay with you?
2:30.
Okay. Professor Odora Hoppers will be leaving at 2:30, but
3.
we can, at least those who want to continue to engage with each other, latest 3 o'clock will be here up to 3 o'clock. I will just give some opening remarks, and then Professor Odora Hoppers will also come and introduce Professor Linna and Professor Richards. And thereafter we'll have general introductions, everybody. Now, SARChI's role, I'm sure all of us know the role now, but it's important from time to time to go back to the role of SARChI and look at what we have done, what we are doing, what we are supposed to be doing in the future, where we are heading. So, if you don't mind, I will go to a document that describes the role of SARChI, just to quote just 2 paragraphs, emphasizing some few statements here and there. SARChI has facilitated through research and strategic interventions the re-examination of ideas, norms, and practices at all levels in the academy and in key disciplinary areas in terms of their relationship to African society and pertinence to global realities. So I think this is it's a very loaded statement, very important statement. So when we make presentations later, we'll have to re-examine from time to time how our research links with this statement. Now, SARChI has explored indigenous directed partnerships in the academy and tackled the reframing, knowledge production, and rethinking of knowledge paradigms that comes with. It has addressed the conditions for the integration of knowledge systems in the academy, linked transdisciplinarity and leadership building. I think these are key concepts SARChI is promoting: transdisciplinarity and leadership building as methodology and generated strategic publications. The chair has addressed the graduateness issue through postgraduate training, but it is not the usual postgraduate training. So the work SARChI does aims at addressing the serious capacity chasms in detecting social and knowledge capital of African people, strengthen their capability to conceptualize and contextualize these without fear Without fear is in bold. Without fear, maybe we can even add or favor into policy issues. And with the support of the distinguished fellows, they are taught how to translate them at the point of implementation. So it has used meta-capacity building as a methodology. So lastly, many know SARChI as a uniquely transformative chair, committed to turning the universities into a civic space, and community engagement as restorative action. They know that the difference between data and information is intimate in the academy, but between knowledge and wisdom is as far between in the academy as you would have it. With these words, let me welcome Professor Odora Hoppers to also share with you some few words and introduce our guests.
Welcome, everybody. We are here on this Saturday. It is in between peer reviews, but we thought that one, before I leave to overseas this night, and before Kinfe graduates, it is supposed to be next week, and we have one fresh graduate. It is his Dr. Lebs. Please let us clap for him. I feel fulfilled. Yes. And now Kinfe is coming. In between, I've had 4 masters. 2 of them graduated with distinctions. We continue. We continue to push the academy on like this. Yeah. It is my role now to introduce our foreign distinguished guests. Howard Richards has been here. He's still here. Why? Why, you may ask? Why is he constantly coming here? It is because we made a promise in 2008 that we would see the dream come true. We made a promise with him. It is not written down, but it is there. Howard is my other. Howard so I will leave him to introduce himself later, because it is very important for people to hear from your mouth the characteristics that is you. I will introduce Dr. Evelyn Linde. I tell you, this woman, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have met her. She's the president of the World Dignity University associated with the University of Oslo. Maybe there. Okay, it is being in film. So I would not waste time because I want you to introduce yourself to the students. We are diverse. A lot of the students of SARChI are not here. But we incorporate them somehow. But you have to introduce yourselves to the students who are here. Okay? Chair, can they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think it is proper that I think they wrote this item in white ink. We should give Professor Richards and Professor Linda an opportunity to address us.
Yes.
Yes. Thereafter, then we'll introduce ourselves properly. Yes, Professor.
Okay. Yeah.
Then, whenever you speak, again, I'll remind you, you need to come to the fore in speaking to the microphone.
Catherine and I came to the same conclusion from different directions. She was from Uganda and was sort of born immersed in traditional knowledge systems, and I was born in California, later transplanted myself to Chile, and
The voice a bit, ne?
okay. And I drew the conclusion from my life in the United States that the system was basically impossible and it needed roots in traditional wisdom. It was programmed to self-destruct and to destroy humanity, and we could only survive by being reprogrammed. So when I met Catherine, she thinks it was 96. I think it was 95, but maybe she's right. Maybe it was 96. In any case, I immediately sort of captured the sense that here was my other person who had come from the opposite side of the world with an opposite experience and had arrived at the same conclusion, that we need an epistemology of hope and transformation by enlargement. So we've been working together ever since, although for the first 10 years we did it by telepathy. I want to also take advantage of this opportunity to show my new books. Joy, could you hold it up? It's about India, but I think it pertains to the rest of the world as well, and that it's about the sort of same topic of how indigenous knowledge, in this case Gandhi, can become synthesized with modernity in a way that will save both. No, Lebs can hold it up. Oh, the camera has to. Okay, I have to hold it up so the camera can see it. Okay, I'll hold it up for the camera, and then I'll give it to.
Thanks.
So that's my my short introduction of myself, which I think is unnecessary because I'm the one person here everyone else knows. I don't know if everyone knows my granddaughter. This is Justine, my granddaughter, who still lives in California. I have two daughters. One lives in California and one lives with us in Chile. And she is on her first trip to South Africa.
Explain why you are here this time.
I'm here this time on two or perhaps three particular projects. One is what I like to think of as an intellectual biography of Catherine, where we're trying to articulate and communicate some of her main ideas and some of the background where it came from. And actually the four of us are working on this, Evelyn and Justine and Catherine and I. And the second is a work on Michel Foucault, which we started 5 years ago, but it didn't work that time. And where Michel Foucault, I think, can be regarded as perhaps the most important philosopher today. Maybe one might think of a few who might be competitors, but I would think he would probably be the leading intellectual of our time at a global level. And we're bringing him into dialogue with the epistemology of hope and the constructive project that this chair represents, and in particular with Catherine and Evelyn and their perspectives. We already have a couple of presses offering to publish it, so even though we haven't written it, it's already been regarded as a significant contribution. Also, while we're here, we're hoping to work somewhat with the concept of unbounded organization, which another fellow of the chair, Gavin Anderson, has developed. Yeah, we've had another opportunity to work at WITS in the School of Law and Management, which is just the perfect. That's actually what we were looking for. When I first came to Africa, I think it was 2008, as Catherine was driving me from the airport, we decided that, well, first we had to transform law, and then economics, and then natural science, and then education. And it turns out that the dean of the College of Law, where Catherine and I worked with the Brains Trust of law professors, and actually succeeded in bringing the key ideas of the SARChI chair into the Faculty of Law and the teaching of law at the University of South Africa. So the next logical step is we have to transform the teaching of economics, at least according to what we said in the car on the way from the airport. So we have the perfect opportunity because the Dean of Law, who worked with us here, is now there, and she's now heading the School of Management. So I think God must have something in mind. And of course, there have been other wonderful opportunities, such as the interface with the sort of natural science establishment and the indigenous knowledge systems, which we've been able to work with too. So there's considerable progress with respect to, and with, as we'll hear from our sister later in the day, and with the respect to the natural sciences. So now I think I have to give the microphone to Evelyn.
Can we please give Professor Richards a hand? We'll have time to ask questions later. Let's have Professor Lynn sitting in that comfortable chair. Right.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's my first time to meet you.
Oh.
And Catherine said that she is lucky to meet me, but I must admit that I'm much more lucky to meet you. And I'm extremely lucky to meet you all and to learn about what is standing behind your thinking and your path. I'm coming from 40 years of living globally. I'm living in about 5 countries per year, always in different places, and have a deep knowledge of all continents of our planet. So my life project is to really know what our human family is about and to kind of harvest the best of what we ever have done and to bring it into the future. And I think what I find here is among the very best that our human family has ever done. And what you do here, from my point of view, is not only important for South Africa. It's not only for Africa. No, it's crucial for the survival of our human family. So this is my message to you from the human family as a whole. Your work is extremely important for the entire human family. So I would like to thank you very much for letting me be with you. It's such a exquisite place to be, and I'm profoundly grateful. We can exchange more later, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Can you say what your qualifications are, because they need to know.
Okay. I would describe myself as a transdisciplinary scholar in social sciences. I have a background in medicine and in psychology. I have 2 PhDs. I usually say I'm collecting PhDs, but not money. So I have a PhD in medicine and another PhD in psychology, in social psychology. However, really my work on dignity and humiliation is transdisciplinary. You could say that social psychology is kind of in the middle. You can go down to the micro level from there, and you can go up to the macro level from there. So my work focuses on humiliation as a violation of dignity, and I'm the president of the Human Dignity and Humiliation Studies Network, which has launched the World Dignity University Initiative. I'm personally, as I said, living globally, and I'm affiliated to many universities. One of the first ones, as you said, is the University of Oslo in Norway. But I'm affiliated to other universities. As I said, I'm teaching and living globally. So what else have I forgotten? Thank you so
can
much.
we please give right, while sitting here, can we give just 5 minutes of questions just to our guests? You want to be educated a bit, just for 5 minutes? Any questions, comments? Okay, later. Right, now this is an opportunity for all of you to introduce yourselves. Shall we start with Ziphora?
Yes, everybody has to sit there.
Yeah,
Oh.
you must come, face the, come.
I can speak now.
No.
Because-
The mic.
Because it cannot walk.
Oh, okay. No problem. No, we can sit. There it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can move
Yeah, I'll move the,
thing.
yeah, move it around. And then,
Thank you very much for having been able to make it to come to this forum that if I couldn't, I know I could have missed it forever. My name is Ziphora Moichela. I'm one of the students at SARChI, doing my doctorate or attempting my doctorate on the topic, like the chair has indicated, based on one of the chair's lotus of the systems of education and basically the fundamentals of education in South Africa, which is indigenous knowledge system, but mostly its integration in our basic education curriculum.
My name is Joy Ndwandwe. I'm a master's student at SARChI, studying my thesis or is it a dissertation? I never know which one it is transforming African leadership legacy into African humanism leadership through indigenous cosmologies. And I'll be making a presentation on that later.
My name is Morongwa Masemula. I'm a SARChI student. I'm a master's student here. And my dissertation is on integration of the two knowledge systems, indigenous knowledge systems and modern science, in the curriculum at schools.
SARChI Zelezeck. I'm a PhD student, the chair, and my topic is around entrepreneurship. My topic is on entrepreneurship. I will be presenting later on that.
My name is Kinfe Gebre-Egziabher. I am from Ethiopia. I have a bachelor degree in mathematics, master's in demography, and I was working as an assistant professor of statistics for the last 10 years. Now I am attending for my PhD in the title of my PhD is on rethinking population dynamics, sustainable development and poverty reduction in Africa, and I will have a presentation, and during that I will explain on how I am transformed by SARChI in the last 4 years. Thank you.
Please adjust your camera. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Philip Higgs, Emeritus Professor and Research Fellow in the University of South Africa and the College of Education. My academic concern over the years has been in philosophy and education, and at the present point in time I am busy with the curriculation of modules at the University of South Africa, which are now taking on a curriculum which includes indigenous knowledge systems in the context of African philosophy. I have been working with Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers for some 4 years, having known her for 10 when we started a journey some time ago as a result of one phone call that was made while she was in the Scandinavian country of Sweden at the time.
This has to be dropped somewhere, huh?
She was hoping that she could go and
Completely.
What's it? Yes.
Rutendo.
Okay, my name is Rutendo Ngara. I am a research associate with the chair, but I'm also a doctoral student. My thesis is looking at science, culture, and cosmology in relation to paradigms of healing. I'm looking at the possibility or the constitutive rules that will enable different medical paradigms to be able to work together in a synthetic manner. Thank you.
Are we moving? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Oops. In the course of the year, I think that the SARChI has been privileged to have 3 graduates, 2 PhD students, and 1 master's. The next point on the agenda will be moving to the presentations from the 2 doctorates that we had, namely Dr. Lebs Mphahlele and Dr. Kinfe will be presenting. So without wasting much time, I just want to invite them, first starting with Lebs, to present.
Thank you very much, Chair, and in particular the South African Research Chair in Development Education. It was very difficult to get a sense of what I must focus on because this is a family that we have grown together, we have been engaging the ideas and so on. And I asked Rutendo, what must I focus on? And when I looked at the shopping list, it seems I had to present the whole thesis again. So, so I have taken a little bit of a different angle, and I will try to look at the relationship between what I have done in my research and what SARChI was trying to do, thinking that that might, in reflecting on the role of SARChI and informing where SARChI is going in the future. By SARChI, I don't mean I mean in development education, this particular research chair. But I think it will be proper first to acknowledge and thank the Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers, who I don't know where I met her and how I met her, probably in some previous lives when I was a cat and she was something, but somewhere we seem to have known each other before we met. And also Professor Howard Richards. Very important role at the beginning. I think from a methodology point of view, they played a very important role in thinking about research and how you go about research. And when you talk about transformation, what it means and how you bring the human agency to the center of research. I think it was very powerful. And Professor Hicks for guidance and wealth of experience, rules of thumb ready-made, and pointers. So it's very useful as a student. I'm mentioning it as a student to get this kind of guidance. And guidance is a mild word. In other words, a little bit from time to time you need to be thrown into the deep end, just you need to be pushed. If it is in boxing, a little bit of a uppercut and you wake up, then you become more solid, challenge you, move out of your boundaries. I think it's a very important one. But one of the concepts that SARChI is trying to promote is leadership. So it is not just getting that document, that certificate, and then it's done. That is why when SARChI invited me, I didn't view getting a certificate as having finished. I saw it as a beginning. In other words, it's just, if you like, a first key opening doors. And in society, it also puts you on another level, status. If it is set by a doctor, it's different from if that statement is set by somebody who's not a doctor. So in a way, But that's not the end. I think it's a beginning. So, and that is how I viewed participation in SARChI as opposed to participating in another academic program. So I think that is very key, and that is why I think I'm here today. In doing that, we took it upon ourselves, and we took seriously the phrase that Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers mentioned, one of our retreats. And she said, you must own up. In other words, we must take it upon ourselves to lead the research work. And the research, the way it's defined by SARChI, is a broader concept than you would find in a normal academic institution. And so we came together and we formed this vehicle, the peer review thing. And we gave it shape, and we met. And we even had targets. I think when we met in the first year, we said by the end of that year we should have the first graduate. That was the target that we put for ourselves. And that the first graduate would be a master's at the time, looking at who was about to. And that in the following year, I think that was 2011, that we must have the first master student graduating. Then we must have the first doctoral student graduating in the following year, 2012. So I'm glad to mention that I have been the guinea pig, the first one to get it, a certificate from UNISA last year in December, that I have satisfied the requirements of DED. And also, that shows that once you take the leadership as students yourselves, you also are starting to demonstrate that leadership, and you are leading. And the sky will be the limit from there. You just go on and on. And after graduating, I also, from where I'm employed, continued to do the same thing. Right, I'm employed by an academy. It's a training institution for public servants. It's called PALAMA, Public Administration, Leadership and Management Academy. And so I invited Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers, I think last year or year before last, I'm not sure, to come and address. But again, after graduating, then they established the first doctoral colloquium. So again, I was a guinea pig there to present my thesis. And the occasion was graced by, amongst others, Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers, and the leadership, senior leadership of the academy, and colleagues from other institutions like Public Service Commission and so on. So in that way, it's a way of taking the research and using public spaces to share and discuss with other colleagues. Because I'm a public servant, so it's in the public service environment. And also it explains why my research was also on public policies, and it's one of the areas I think identified by SARChI. Now, when you enter SARChI offices, you see on the wall statements. So I'm not sure how many of us interrogate those statements, but I think I'll take this opportunity now to, through the lens of my research, to look at those statements that are there, select statements. SARChI is an observatory, the way it's mentioned there. It's a space. It's a reflective space. It's a civic space. It's a interactive space. Facilitative space, non-museumized space. And if I were to mention the words that I said were in bold, where we interact without fear or favor. It's a safe space. So I think that has proved to be very true, because we did create, and no punches were held. In fact, if you were doing this, you were encouraged to open up and make sure that bring your ideas, let them come to the fore. You won't go to jail, you're safe. Feel free, express yourselves. Now, it is not just within here amongst us as peers, but even in research, in conducting research, because we had to look at the ology of the method, in the methodology. In my case, the tension was between the knowledge systems. I come from a science background, so I did BSc in biochemistry. I've got honors in biochemistry, and then did education. Now, and I was investigating innovation systems, and the innovation is the policy that governs innovation is science and technology policy. So if you take science and technology and indigenous knowledge, these systems, how do they enter into a conversation with each other without the other one co-opting the other? So that was something that I think interested me, and I had to investigate. Now, this discourse is structured, hierarchized, well developed over centuries in a certain way. This one also is organized differently from this one, but it's not coded like this one. How do you ensure that this converse? And if you want to go deep into IKS, this one, you'll have to have that language to access it. And because translating does not do justice, translating this discourse into this language, it does not do justice to this one. In some cases, the concepts that are here don't exist in this one. So how do you ensure in one thesis you can have that conversation going? So from methodological point of view, I interviewed these people in their own language. Unfortunately, I knew the language, but where I didn't know the language, I requested the person who's an expert to also make it available in a language that these other people can understand it. So when you go to the thesis at the end, you'll see that the interviews they exist in indigenous languages and also the English. And you had to take back the transcript back to the people to confirm and verify that indeed what we said in English is exactly conveying the same message in the indigenous languages. But in the thesis, the codes are in English. They are not in, just for the purpose of examination and assessment. But the annexures exist, all of them, they exist in all the languages. So I think this was coming to the spaces that we have created as SARChI. The concepts that are mentioned by SARChI and transdisciplinary areas. We've got 8 concepts there, and we've got 4 transdisciplinary areas. I think 1 or 2 relate to the work that I did. The following, I think the 2 of them are the transdisciplinary areas, IKS and innovation, conditions for their integration. And so my research was innovation agenda for South Africa in the 21st century towards an inclusive and integrative model. So you can see it's not just the heading, but the gist of the thesis is exactly about that. So it does speak to that transdisciplinary area, and it raises transdisciplinary issues. And I think I was very excited when Professor Lindner mentioned that this is her area, and with those 2 PhDs, I think we're going to work together more in this particular area. The other one is science, culture, and society. a little bit, not to a full extent, but I think the first one, I think I have done quite a lot of work in that particular area, and I can share insights. The concepts, 8 concepts, but I think 3 speak directly to the work that I did. One is on human development and human agency. Chapter 4 actually deals with those theories around that particular issue. The other one is nature and livelihoods. The issue of livelihoods is coming very strongly because innovation is driven by the selection environment. You've got market selection environment and non-market selection environment. So innovation currently is operating within the market selection environment, and so it's largely driven by making those profit. But then you've got this one, the livelihoods. So somewhere when they start to enter into conversation with each other, the issue of livelihoods come to the fore. The coexistence, which is another concept I think is coming through in the thesis. And lastly, SARChI has got 5, I think it wants to achieve 5 things. And those community of thinkers is coming. And I think this peer thing is not just assisting with research, it means moving forward. That's why myself, I'm here. And the knife, a community of thinkers moving. The other one is robust exposition of constitutive rules and norms. And I think my thesis is actually making a statement there around this area. Basically, it says that when you look at the innovation policies, if we're to transform, because we're talking language of transforming, it must happen at currently what has happened since 94 was at regulatory level. Made lots of changes, but that it was not at constitutive level. So transformation must happen at constitutive. So that is what is emerging from the research. And it suggests now, in line with the other 3 that SARChI is promoting, a program for transformation in a guided sense. And also the knowledge that is transferable into institutional and national strategies. It mustn't just remain, it must be transferable into institutional and national. So it makes, I think, 4 recommendations. One is at institutional level, one is at regulatory level, one is at a constitutional level. So those are made, and it's in line with, I think, the spirit and the aim of SARChI, and therefore providing, I think, what SARChI calls epistemology of hope. Thank you very much, Chief.
Okay. I see in the program that we will be taking the questions after the 2 have presented. I don't know if we stick to that or. Oops.
You sit this side because of this. Then press. Let it face this way.
Oh, Rutendo, you could help him.
Yes.
You're free to proceed.
Shall I start? Okay, thank you. My name is Kinfe Gebre-Egziabher. I am from the northernmost part of Ethiopia by the name Tigray, and I am teaching in a university. I have served in different positions. I was department head, director of quality assurance, associate vice president for academic programs. But in all these positions, I was not that much satisfied with the interventions that I was intending to make. But in March 2009, I joined UNISA, and then Professor Catherine Odora Hoppers became my professor, my supervisor. And starting from that time, I am trying to make changes within myself first, and then I will try to explain what the changes I am trying to do in the university and in the community where I am living. Well, as Dr. Lebs said, I will make modifications in my presentation. The title of the research is Rethinking Population Dynamics, Sustainable Development and Poverty Reduction in Africa, the case of Tigray, Ethiopia. But first, I want to appreciate, I want to thank, I want to acknowledge the guidance, the assistance, and everything that I got from Professor Odora Hoppers, Professor Richard Howards, starting from the very beginning, Professor Luke, Professor Higgs, and other staff members of SARChI in Rutendo and others, the students also. You will, within the given time, it will be difficult to present all the details, but what I will do is I will try to give you some highlights of what I did, and at the end I will try to present on how the objectives, vision, and mission of SARChI are becoming transformed in this process also into action, I mean. So the lessons that I learned and how I applied this. I have many slides, but I am sure that everybody will get the dissertation. So I don't need to go through the details of the theories about overpopulation, meaning to give you something about Ethiopia, mainly the northern part. In the last 200 years alone, there were more than 50 frequent droughts that killed millions of people. Well, if you look at the Malthusian view, these are checks that have to regulate the population size of the globe. But I am mainly the drought of 1984 that killed more than 1 million Ethiopians, and more than 1 million people from Tigray alone migrated to Sudan, forced migration. And I was experiencing all this. I was a university student, and I was always thinking of making some contribution to the development process of the country, because you observe that people are suffering from frequent wars, droughts, and so on, and I do believe that there must be a solution to that. So in the research was mainly designed to answer the research question that says, how would it be possible for Tigray, Ethiopia, integrate population dynamics with the sustainable development and poverty reduction process, so that people come to realize the condition under which population may be seen as resources creators, and the conditions under which people may be seen as resource meaning. That is why the name rethinking was given, in fact, in this case, because many the Malthusians and neo-Malthusians view people as resource destroyers. In addition, the research also had six sub-questions, and the overall aim is to examine and analyze the way in which the dynamics of the African population, the population equation in general, and the population dynamics of the Tigray region of Ethiopia in particular may be integrated with the sustainable development and poverty reduction process, thereby providing strong evidence for the optimists' view of population dynamics and sustainable development. And there are some 4 specific objectives. The research had some 5 hypotheses, either to prove or disprove it, and accordingly, in Tigray, Ethiopia, the population grows at a geometric progression and economic growth at an arithmetic progression. This was just the main hypothesis of Malthus, and it is disproved at the end. Increased population leads to decline in economic development and so on. We have such hypothesis, and the literature is included in that case. Now we have 3 main views in the literature of population and sustainable development: the what we call pessimistic view, neutralistic, and the optimistic view. The dominant one till now, which is strongly backed by the international donors, UN agencies and so on, is more of neo-Malthusian, which considers population as a threat, not as a resource. But no empirical evidence shows that population growth is a threat, and this research, what is unique in this research is many demographers and development scientists try to make a study on this, but some of them view it at household level, others try to look it at national level, and most of them try to discuss the issue at global level. But this research had 5 levels. I took 1,000 females from Tigray, individual level, mainly to deal with fertility, and 1,000 households to make analysis at household level. Community level data are gathered, and we have regional, national, and international level data. So it tried to include all levels of data. So what we are saying is the debate on the impact of population dynamics on the environment, sustainable development, and poverty reduction, as well as some try to study the carrying capacity of the earth and the carrying capacity of some continents or nations. This ranged from the pessimistic view of Malthus to some neo-Malthusian paradigms, which is mainly the stand of the United Nations, and to the optimistic view of Julian Simon and Esther Bozrah. But the point is, despite the extensive material written on the subject, the issue of the relationship between population dynamics on one hand and sustainable development and poverty reduction on the other hand has not been conclusively addressed at the level of theory. If we look at Africa, for example, before 1900, the growth rate of the population was 0.1%, almost zero. There was high fertility, but at the same time, mortality was also high, and there was high out-migration. From 1900 up to 1950, 1.2%. You can look at the data. Now, what we observe is, in the last 50 years alone, the African population has grown from 221 million in 1950 to more than 1 billion at present. And now, while population is growing, now the question is, what's happening to the living standard of the people? Is it becoming worse or is it becoming improved? And in fact, each one of us can answer it by looking at the situation. Africa accounts for 20.4% of the world's total area, but the population now is only 14.7%. Now the question is, as population becomes 5-fold in the last 50 years, what's happening to the development process? And if you look at the situation of Ethiopia, also the same. It is the second most populous country in Africa, next to Nigeria, with a population of around 84 million. But in 1900 there were only 11 million, 12 million. You can see how population is growing in the last. If I can show you the pictorial representation of in the last 1 century, and in a similar way, the living standard of the people is increasing radically. In fact, in a more sharp. Now, the population of Ethiopia is expected to double itself within 27 years. But the economy at present is growing at an average of 11% per year. That is of Ethiopia. And in case of Tigray, the northern part, in the last 10 years, the economy has grown on an average of 11.7%. And the main conceptual framework for the research is, in fact, this is the whole issue. We have population dynamics as the center, and we have the measures of the sustainable development, such as financial, natural, human, social, and so on. But I try to make this one more bold because social capital and human capital are the main things in that process. Now, in the methodology, what I did was I took 1,000 households from Tigray. The procedure was 10 waradas were selected. Warada is some sort of district, in case of Ethiopia, and out of the 47 waradas in Tigray, I selected 10. Out of each of them, I selected 2 tabias, that is the lowest administrative region, and from which again I took 50 households using systematic random sampling. And the sampling procedures, methods of observation, I went to the field I stayed there for months to observe on what is happening to the social services, the educational system, health services, and so on, and the forest coverage at the same time. The enumeration method was used mainly to collect data at individual and household level, and interviews were also made with and I can show you the details of the households, number of households that were collected per warada, and the females interviewed from each household. I also interviewed the wives, and in some of them the elder women, females who are 15 years and above, was interviewed in the process. Then it was analyzed, and to test the significance I used logistic regression model. So the results show that in either case, instead of going through all the details, in the last, my time reference was, in order to measure such development issues, we have to make it more than at least 20 years time. And in the interview that I have tried to interview people who stayed there for more than 30 years as heads of the households, 5 from each area, which amounted to 100 people for the qualitative part, and for the quantitative, the individual and the household level data were collected. And the overall result shows that in the last 30 years, population was doubling, but at the same time, the living situation of the households was significantly getting improved. And it was also tested at 95% confidence interval, and it showed that some of the key variables that contributed towards this are saving, for example, significantly improves the living situation of the households, membership of social capital. Even we have tried to quantify the level of the contribution. Out migration also had positive relationship with it. Age of the household has negative relationship, and so on. Now, from these findings, there are a lot of statistical jargons there. The recommendation is, I have about 21 recommendations. I am rushing because I want to relate it more to the presentation of Dr. Lebs on investment primarily in the ultimate resource. The main recommendation that we have is people are the ultimate resource, but we have to investment in education. So human capital enhances both sustainable development and poverty reduction because it was significant variable. The government have to invest especially in social services such as education, and citizens must be provided with enabling environment. By the way, in the international level data, what I did is we selected 10 richest and most populous countries that account for 55% of the world population, and we took the 10 least populated countries that accounts for 0.55% of the world population, and we try to investigate what is common in the richest countries with high population and what is common in the countries with low population. So we also observed in the study that there is a great gap between urban and rural areas. So closing the gap will be one task of the development practitioners and the government at large. The Ethiopian population with its present growth rate, it is growing at 2.6%. This implies that it will double every 27 years. At the same time, on the average, the country registered a 2-digit economic growth in the last 9 consecutive years. On the basis of the average growth rate, if you take 11%, the economy of the country will be more than double in 2.35. Within 5 years, the economy of the country will more than double in 2.35 fold every 5 years. Within 27 years, when the population becomes doubled, the economy becomes 13-fold. If this process continues, it means. Therefore, this doesn't show that high population growth necessarily leads to low economic development. On the other hand, this is a strong evidence to the optimist theory of population. According to the Malthusian view, population grows in a geometric progression rate, while economy grows at an arithmetic. But in case of Tigray, Ethiopia, even if you look at the African context now, on the average, economy is growing at 7%, and both population and the economy are growing in a geometric progression. But what really matters is the base of that geometric formula, and so this disproves the pessimistic view of population growth also. Accordingly, we have some recommendations, but what I want to discuss mainly in this case is when we relate what has been done to the goals and vision of SARChI. Dr. Lebs tried to state the details. SARChI, as we all know, is strategically focused knowledge and human resource intervention into the higher education landscape of Africa. Some of the mandates are to advance frontier of knowledge through focused research in identified fields, create new research career, pathways for highly skilled, high quality research and stimulate strategic research across the knowledge spectrum. During the process of my PhD study, what I did was I was coming to a retreat, and I got an opportunity to discuss with the international staff as well as SARChI students. Then after I went to my university, Mphahlele University has about 40,000 students, and the academic staff is about 1,500. Now most of them are young, and many are attending for their PhDs. More than 150 are standing for their PhD, because it is only 22 years old university. So I started the peer discussion and peer review mechanism in Mphahlele University. First, we started it with 12 UNISA students, and then we meet every month. What we do is, every month, everybody presents brief progress report, but 2 others present details of their research, and we comment on them. Some of them are from accounting, some of them are from law, some of them from education, but we mainly focus to the methodologies, and it's also a learning process. Till now, I have presented the details of my progress report 4 times to that group at different times. And now students who are attending at Addis Ababa University and others are also trying to make use of this procedure, and all of them are saying that they are getting benefited from this process. In addition, I submitted my thesis on June. What I did was, one of the recommendations in this research is that African universities have to establish institutes that deal with integrating population dynamics with the sustainable development process. So I wrote a proposal and I submitted to the university president, and it was discussed at Senate level to establish Institute of Population and Sustainable Development, and the university allowed budget for conducting need assessment, and I interviewed heads of 108 different organizations, and the detailed report of the need assessment was also submitted. And I also commented the proposal has the establishment of the institute as well as
1 minute.
I am finishing. The commencement of the master's program on population and sustainable development. Now, on April 26, I had a launching workshop. I presented all the details. All the deans, the directors, and bureau heads were invited. And it was very interesting discussion. The thematic areas were well identified, and in the institute we have 6 centers: Center for Population Studies, Center for Gender and Development, Center for Migration and Development, Center for Dispute Resolution, Center for Indigenous Knowledge System, and Center for Population and Environment. During my when I was here on November also, I had a discussion with Professor John Faris, who is director of IDRA, Institute of Dispute Resolution for Africa in UNISA, and this is because we were having an idea on the Center for Dispute Resolution, and the memorandum of understanding between Mphahlele University and IDRA is already drafted, and it is in the UNISA management for approval. 2 persons as a result of that memorandum of understanding, Dr. Gebre-Egziabher and Dr. Mphahlele, are already here with Professor John Faris for their postdoc. This is result of the intervention that I made. Now, as soon as I went back, I am expecting a letter from the president so that I will be the director of the Institute of Population and Sustainable Development. Now, what I am saying is, what SARChI is doing is not only teaching individuals, but we can say that we are establishing institutes in different corners of the globe, or at least I can confidently say that we are making intervention in Africa. 1 minute. Personally, in the last 4 years, as I told you, I have tried to gain. I am making transformation within myself. Well, last year I presented it in the retreat. The main thing that I gained in this process is I started. The title says rethinking, and I started rethinking as a result of joining Professor Odora Hoppers and the other staff. I learned that breakthroughs, discoveries, interventions, and creativities in every field come from questioning or challenging the existing assumptions. Before joining SARChI, I didn't know how I could go in life. I was serving in different positions, but I was not satisfied that myself. I discovered the truth that we would never know how far we could go if someone didn't first go too far. And this helped me to rethink on the pace of movement and the direction of my... I also started becoming future oriented. I have a teaching experience of 4 years in a high school and 22 years in a university, but it was more or less an experience of 1 year repeated about 20 times. But before I joined SARChI, I can say that I was stuck in the past. But after I started communicating with the great scientists at SARChI, I discovered that small minds stuck in the past, average minds are usually preoccupied with the present, and extraordinary minds like that of Professor Hoppers are always focused in the future. Hence, I started thinking what could be, and at present I am finding ways on how it can be. But now, at least, I can say that I have a dream, and I am sure that I will materialize it. I also started teaching my students to reject limitations. At work, at home, in the environment, there were so many barriers that hindered my success. I then started to go beyond barriers as a result of the intervention that, especially in the last 2 years, I had many problems, mainly family and others. But thanks to Professor Odora Hoppers, I started to imagine life beyond the existing barriers. And by now, instead of encouraging my students to think within the boundaries of what is really existing, I started teaching them to imagine life beyond the boundaries. From my mathematics background, I know that every problem has a solution. Sometimes the solution may be an empty set, can be an empty set. But from SARChI document of the retreat of 2002, I learned that hope tells us that our present existence is not ultimate, and that there is an alternate. Believing that for every problem there is at least one solution, I then developed the culture of asking, seeking, and knocking until the answer arrives. I also started asking extraordinary questions. What if? Why not? How can we? And then I am trying to make changes in my inner self. And I also started getting leverage from failures. In the last 4 years, as I told you, I learned that it is possible to convert any kind of failure to a success. I also discovered that education teaches us not only what we have to do, but also what we shouldn't do, learning from failures. So failure is life's way of correcting and perfecting us. After failures occurred, I learned to carry the learning with me into the future while leaving the pain in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. You've all heard the emotional testimony. And I'm sure it resonates in each of us as students. And as stated in the program, we'll now take a few questions, comment, and probably lesson learned, reflect on the lesson learned as well, and possibly invite Prof to say a word in conclusion, I don't know, after the presentations. But before that, we can take a round of comments and discussions. Comment?
I can comment on anything.
Yeah.
Really.
The mic.
Feel free. Okay? Just feel free. Not to get stuck in the box. Huh? So, SARChI is that type of space. Huh? Feel free.
Oh, there's one there.
If you sit there, it's much easier to
Ah, okay.
Okay. First, I'd like to congratulate my two colleagues that they've walked this path. But I couldn't help it but comment on the fact that what I'm hearing is I have transformed my soul. This journey has transformed my soul. And I think really SARChI is living up to the expectations of why I came here personally, is to get knowledge that transforms the soul. And I am so happy that your testimonies were more about that. They were not about how you have gained mental power and that you are now thinking better. We all know that. But your testimony about how the whole journey at SARChI has transformed your soul, and congratulations for that. I am really, really happy to have known you and to have met you, and I know this is not the end.
Thank you. I'd like to say congratulations to our colleagues here for finishing your studies. And I want to congratulate Professor Hoppers and the fellows and everybody who's associated with the chair, because it is through them that we have the confidence that we have. What I learned from SARChI was that my knowledge was actually my jail. It was an entrapment, because I had defined myself with the knowledge that I had. And you know, when you go through what you know, you always think it's supposed to liberate you, but it didn't. My liberation came with understanding my own limitations and the omissions in what I knew. And it has enhanced me. I am writing about it in my thesis, you know, from the standpoint theorist, but I'm also seeing it in my work. I'm seeing my work as a curriculum advisor, and I'm seeing the omissions that we have in what we call our curriculum, that we are sending to our learners, and which makes them not be able to solve their problems, because there are more omissions than anything else. I would like to really thank God, the Almighty. I'd like to for being in this program, because it's a rare opportunity to meet the fellows, to meet, you know, the discussions that take place here. And for me, that is the only freedom that I've received, you know, since after apartheid. And when I present my studies, I'm going to talk about how the knowledge that we have has been stripped of value, has been stripped of everything, and how the knowledge in natural science has actually been stripped of nature itself. And thank you once again for accepting me into this program. And I know when I came in here, my head was really running around. I think I'm more settled now. In this way, I look like I'm sick, but I'm more calm now. Thank you. I would like to congratulate you, follow you in congratulating everybody for creating this space, particularly Catherine, Odora Hoppers. It requires an immense amount of courage and insight and vision to create such a space. And I can only repeat what I said before. What you are doing here is not just important for you as people, as scholars, and for South African institutions or African institutions. From my point of view, really, I resonate with what Howard said before. If we look at the dominant trends in the last centuries or even millennia, they are geared to destruction. They are not sustainable. And where should rescue come from? And it comes from here. So please know that your work is extremely important globally for the future of the entirety of humankind. Please remember that you know, it's a bit ironic that if you look back the history in Africa of colonization, and now you could say the colonizers come and say, oh, sorry, we hit the wall with our strategies. We as a human family will hit the wall. You, the victims, you have to save us now all. Please save us now. We did not go the right way. So this is in a way the situation. You know, the rescue must come from somewhere where there is the space to think up visions for the future that are very, very, very new and very different. And I'm so full of admiration for you walking this path.
I'd like Rutendo to come to listen to what was said and listen to comments. I'd like Rutendo to read two paragraphs of what I wrote 10 years ago. It was brought to my attention by Joy yesterday. She described my students as part of me because I had the foresight that these students would come without knowing. Now, Rutendo, come and read it. I will sit somewhere else. Mark.
Okay, this is part of a chapter that Professor Hoppers wrote in the book Indigenous Knowledge and the Integration of Knowledge Systems from 2002, I think. But as she said yesterday, she had written this in 2000 before the book was published. And I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs, introductory paragraphs. South Africa's drive for the development, promotion, and protection of Indigenous Knowledge Systems, or IKS, within which this initiative is located, comes at a time when major winds of change are blowing in the country. On the one hand, there are major transformation and democratization processes being implemented under the new dispensation. Several macro-level policies provide frameworks for understanding the equity, empowerment, and development thrusts in government policies. For example, the Reconstruction and Development Program, or RDP, the Policy of Growth, Equity and Reconstruction, GEAR, and the National System of Innovation and the African Renaissance. The latter, in particular, sets forth an agenda that combines identity reconstruction and innovation, human rights, sustainable development, and democratization in South Africa and throughout the African continent. The African Renaissance aims at building a deeper understanding of Africa, its languages, and its methods of development. It is a project that includes the rewriting of major tenets of history, both past and contemporary. IKS thus posits tremendous challenges for the reconstruction and development of strategies in South Africa. Several global imperatives also underpin the need for renewed attention to IKS. To begin with, the world stands at a crossroads in search of new, human-centered visions of development in health, in preserving and conserving biodiversity, in human rights, and in the alleviation of poverty. All the agencies of the United Nations are seeking to promote paradigms of sustainable human development that build on knowledge resources that exist in communities. As a continent, Africa is seeking its own renaissance and seeking to establish the terms of its development. Despite the affluence that globalization has brought to a small minority, we live in a world in which subjection, suffering, dispossession, and contempt for human dignity and the sanctity of life are at the center of human existence. Emotional dislocation, moral sickness, and individual helplessness remain ubiquitous features of our time. Moreover, for a great majority of the population of Africa, the loss of cultural reference points has culminated in the fundamental breakdown of African societies, with dire consequences for the social and human development project as a whole. Finally, globalization is threatening the appropriation of collective knowledge of non-Western societies into proprietary knowledge for the profit of a few.
In this chair, I don't give what I've written to my students. No. You get me? In normal academic work, all professors profess what they are to students. I don't give anything that I've written to my students. They find it themselves. You get me? I'm focused on the experience of what I've learned and what I can share with the students. And the students run to the library to check on it, and they find that it is true. I mean what I say. I walk the double talk. You get me? So, thank you, Rutendo, for reading this. Thank you, Joy, for reminding me of what I had forecasted 10 years ago. You know, I am surrounded by you. You give me life also. You get me? You give me life, and I share with you what I've gathered. and I leave you alone. I don't guide you. Oh, come and do this. No, I leave you alone. Go and do it. I meet you maybe after several months, and I ask you, Ando, let me see what you have written. Or you know, it looks like a joke, but it is serious. Well, you know, that way of supervision is different from the normal way, because I'm pushing you to supervise yourself. You get me? You come to me, I give you guidance, and then I give you codes. Codes. If you follow the codes, you'll end up like these people. If you follow my codes, so go on. Just go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Really, as the chair of this section, I've been scratching my mind to think what I will say after the intensely charged testimonies that have been presented by the two doctors. I think the only thing that really could crystallize firmly in my mind is that certain experiences are better lived than talked about. That was the only thing I could really take. Congratulations to Dr. Lebs. Congratulations to Dr. Kinfe. I think we'll now move to the tea break before we come back and get into the student presentations.
Maybe let the tea break be only 15 minutes so that we come and continue, because we have to end up maybe earlier.
So we should be back by quarter to 12.
Yeah.
Quarter to 12.
Yeah. Thank you.